So somebody else might have another plan, but I'll show you what I've done over the years. I just say, first of all, most fruit trees that you buy are grafted. They don't plant a seed and then get a fruit tree out of it because you don't know what you're going to get. There's cross pollination that occurs, and you can get a fruit that's not very much like the fruit that gave you the seed. So I had no idea grafting that's done from a commercial orchard you buy from is done by a different method called budding. It's done later in the summer. But this is a time-honored method of grafting that's been done for centuries. And it's been done during the dormant season, and a lot of times it's called bench grafting because you sit around in winter and you do it on a bench or something, rather than outdoors. So it's called bench grafting. I brought this little stick. I don't know if people look at this or not, but I just wanted to kind of show you when a tree grows, it leaves tracks, so you can kind of tell how old it is. There's little circles that go around the bark, and those are called bud scale scars. And there's scars on the left of the terminal bud. And so next year, this would grow out some more, and there would be some scars right there when that bud attached. And that gives you the little circles on the bark. You come back one there, where this was is two. Down here was the third one.
Oh, that's right.
Fourth,
We only have one pair.
along here, I guess. So that was a four-year-old branch. When we're talking about grafting, there's two terms that are in play a lot. One is called the stock, and that's the wood stock. That you put on, or an existing tree if you're outside and you want to graft on an existing tree. And the other is called the scion, S-C-I-O-N, and that's what you guys graft. Chunks of scion wood. Ready? So if you were going to cut scion wood yourself and bring it here to the swamp, or if you were going to use it yourself, you'd want to collect it when it's dormant. Before there's been a lot of warm weather to cause the buds to start growing at best, so I'd say around now is probably a good time yet. And you want to look for, you're going to cut up a branch and take this old growth, you take last year's growth. Okay, so the stuff I grew last year, the first year, that's the stuff that's good for scion wood. Otherwise, you get down to this other wood, it might not be as vigorous, and plus it's got a little different buds. In the case of apples, at least, they fruit on 2-year-old wood. So this is 2-year-old wood here, and you can see this little fatter bud there. That would be a fruiting bud. So we don't want to try to make our graft deal with a little blossom there and pick off later and stuff. You want to get a good start to it and rapid growth. So I'm just going to use this in the simplest method of grafting here. There's some tape out of my pocket.
My book is related, and then just
Show you one of the methods I use a lot. So let's just pretend that this is the stock here. Okay, and we'll just cut it. See what here? Okay.
yeah. Pretty nice.
Again, this is the scion, which I guess it kind of is. So it's great if you can find a piece of scion wood that kind of matches pretty much the same diameter as your stock, because we're going to make cuts. And the cuts will line up on both sides of the same diameter. If not, we got to kind of pull it to one side and just line it up on one side. And there's 50% chance that it's not going to be good. What I usually do is I take a knife and a comfortable handling, and it's halfway sharp, but I haven't sharpened this one in a while. It's got some little dull spots in it.
Also takes your shoe glasses too, so
I always cut toward my thumb. Some people will cut away, but some people that do this a lot will wrap some tape around the thumb and cut toward it. Then the knife cuts through and hits the tape. And sometimes, I don't always, I guess, sometimes it's cut away too. The idea with this is called a a splice graft. So the idea with that is to splice the two together with a long sloping cut. And I seldom get it in the first cut like that, but that's kind of what you want. And I'll go through and clean it up a little better if I can. Another slice there. It's got a little crook to it. I try not to micromanage it too much, but get that cut made. And then on the sign wood, you don't want a huge, long piece of sign wood. Snippers wood are there because this is going to bond to this. There'll be a callousing that occurs between the cells in both of these, and then it'll start. Juices will start flowing through and stuff, and you don't want to have all these buds burst and have this relatively recent union between the two have to carry all that stuff. So 2 or 3 buds usually does it, you know. And so just cut that off there, and then I got something to work with here. So if there's here's the sign wood. If there's a bud there, a lot of times if you're going to cut a slope like that, the bud is a little fatter there, and it'll cause your cut to go out a little bit. So a lot of times they'll cut that bud off just to keep it more uniform. And it takes little futzing sometimes. And my eyes aren't as good as John's here anymore. But so then you get 2 of them like that, and you want to. My knife's going to fall. You want to fit them together like this, okay? And see if it looks like they're going to fit pretty well. And it's pretty well on that side, right? Once you squeeze that down a little bit, and on that side, yeah, it looks to me like there's a little bit of air inside of it, you know, unless it gets squeezed hard. So it's probably the heel of this right here is sticking up a little bit. So I'm going to try to, I slacked up on my cut a little bit, so we'll try to do that, and fit that together. So that's pretty good like that. Now, this one cut is a little longer than the other, but we're going to wrap this up pretty good, so air doesn't get to it. There's a good fit at this portion of the cut. So what I've been using, I've used different things over the years. I've used electrical tape, I've used masking tape. John has parafilm here, I've not used that. I've used this kind of tape, which is a self-vulcanizing sort of electrical tape.
That's usually available at the hardware store.
Usually available at the hardware store. And I don't use the whole thing. I'll usually cut it in half, like such. Just seems to work better to me, you know, like that. And this should work okay with that length if it's not dried out. I haven't used this since last spring, you know, so it's got this little layer on it here of plastic you got to take off. So then you got to wrap it.
Are you doing just the whip or the whip?
I'm just doing the whip to begin, or the splice graft, yeah, or whip if you want to call it, you know. Just doing that to begin with because it's pretty simple.
Right.
So sometimes over here I'll start ahead of time, you know, like that, get a wrap on it, then I'll fit my pieces together, and looks like that's going to fit fairly well there. Okay, I want to kind of keep that, a hold on that, and wrap it around. Okay, now it's got to start there. I'll check the alignment again. It's not so bad. Wrap some more. Pull tight. If you pull too tight, you're going to break it, but you want to stretch on it, and it'll kind of adhere to itself. Okay, and take it around and hold on that for a second to make sure that it's adhering there. And look, I guess I've got all the cut area covered pretty nicely. There's a little cut area here too, so sometimes I'll usually try to take a little bit of grafting tree wound dressing and put some of that on there to cover it up. Now this is a little bit frozen, so it's sitting in the car, but Yeah, wow, it sure is. So, I'm gonna get doing on this one, you know.
Put it on the end, keep
Yeah.
it from drying out. So.
Exactly, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
One thing Tom taught me, yeah, and I still remember your voice saying it, desiccation is the enemy of the graft.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that leads me to the question that I've got. So when you finish that whole thing, you put that in dirt inside and like spritz it from time to time to keep things moist, or what do you do?
Well, it depends on where you are. If you're outside grafting on an existing tree, you do that in my area, like late April, early May.
Okay.
You know, when growth is just kind of starting.
But for these that we've got right
for
here, right
these,
now.
yeah, I'd try to let those roots dry out. So I'd get them.
Let them.
Don't let. I try
Don't
to
let
not
them
let
dry
them dry
out.
out.
Okay, okay.
I'd get a wet paper towel around them in a plastic bag and take the darn things home. When you get them home, I'd probably plant them in a pot with soil and then put them in a, not in direct sunlight, but put them in a cooler spot, like say the basement or something, not 30 degrees, but say 45 to 55 degrees, and that'll give a time for the wounds to heal and grow together here before these buds start bursting and demanding, nutrients and moisture.
So how long at that cooler temperature? How long out of sunlight?
I'd say a couple weeks, then you can start bringing it in, but don't put it in direct sunlight right away to begin with. You know?
Like to regular temperature?
Yeah, yeah. Or you can leave it down in the basement there for a while if you want to. Depends on, you know,
I have a
what you
cellar
want to do.
in my basement. It usually runs about 35.
Yeah, well, just as it's healing hereafter. No, that's maybe a little cold. You know, I'd move it in a little warmer spot than that. And then after it starts to grow, you know, a little bit, it'll start to swell and stuff, and it's been a couple weeks, you move it
It should
out.
be in a dark place, because I have a front closet. It's cool enough, but it hasn't.
Yeah. You just want to avoid direct sunlight baking. You know, maybe give it a little light. Yeah. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
I'm wondering if I can demonstrate my favorite graft.
That's fine with me.
And you showed me how to do the